The truth. And I'm honored to know you as well. I don't know. I don't love talking about me. I love talking about ideas. So we can get into that. I'll tell you about the Eddie Murphy thing briefly. I have written a lot of copy for financial publishers. And at some point, we were talking about uh, an options trading program. And the idea came about basically from Trading Places. If you remember Trading Places, Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, they go on under the must be the Philly Stock Exchange. But I was working with a guy who worked at the Philly Stock Exchange back when people were actually in the pits doing trades. And so we kind of made the illustration. You know how this works. You've seen Trading Places. You know how this works. And anyway, I can't remember exactly what the copy was, but I got to talk about Eddie Murphy for a little while in what is normally a very serious uh, platform talking about money. So it was fun. I love Eddie Murphy. I feel like I'm related to him. He looks like my father to me. Anyway, so those are good times, and that's just one of I like to try to bring fun to everything that I do, which is another reason why I think this room is cool because I can see y'all are having ideas popping around and just enjoying what you're doing. So that's it's really cool.
Yeah, man, definitely. And again, just a little bit about like what like your thought process to put like Eddie Murphy into a financial publication. See, that's the reasons why New Room Collective exists is because between like innovation and marketing, like anybody can say that they do that, but like really being able to think through something and it was a hit and it was in a completely totally different industry and you had to think like how things were correlated as to your audience and like what they were thinking and what they weren't thinking, and then the timing and then the season. There's a lot of things that go into before you write one single word. So when you publish that, I'm just like, this is genius. Like we got to have them come through it. Just walk us through that whole logic and that thought process, man. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
well, one thing that we know is people think in stories, right? And you can sometimes inject an entire story with an illusion or a reference. And I know most of the audience that I was writing to probably has more uh, connection to Dan Aykroyd, but it was my the stuff I was writing. I'm talking about Eddie today, and Eddie ends up being the star of the movie, really, anyway. So, but because of their age, and the popularity of that movie and the popularity of Eddie Murphy, I know I can bring a whole lot of meaning, a whole lot of emotion really quickly in just a handful of words so that people become invested. Their mind starts playing the movie. I remember that movie, okay, and they feel a connection to the message that we're sharing. And you see how successful they were, even though it's Hollywood, but it's representative of reality, how money really transacted in those days and how money still transacts today is just more computerized. And so that was the thinking. It wasn't how I initially, what my initial plan was, but studying the product that we were selling, and I saw connections to that. And then there's another older story about somebody. I don't remember the guy's name, but he put an ad in the newspaper. And so this became part of the copy as well. Put an ad in the newspaper. I can take just like was it Carlton Sheets? I can take a
Yeah.
guy off the street and teach him how to buy real estate, have him cash flow positive in 30 days. Anybody. And this guy did the same thing. Anybody. If I can show you how to make money using my money, and it actually successfully happened. Not everybody made money, but the majority of people made money. So we lead in with, you see how Eddie Murphy, who knew nothing about the stock market, he was a homeless guy, he's kind of a grifter, and he learned how to trade commodities like a pro and made a fortune. And this happened in real life, which is all happens in the research. We found some I found this thing that happened, this story that happened in real life, probably in the 80s, I think. And they may have been trading commodities too. I can't remember that part. Anyway, so connecting the research to a popular idea that people can relate to, understand, and visualize, that's how you get them into the story. So I'm going to talk about some complex things, but we don't want to scare you off with complexity in the beginning. Get you connected, feeling emotions, feeling a little bit of nostalgia, and then openness because you believe there's a story that I remember. I mean, from a movie, and then there's a real life example that we can prove happened. And now I can show you the same thing. We're going to do the same thing for you.
But see, those are the elements though. See, that's what I'm saying. Like just to peel back the curtain really through the thought process. The first key thing that I heard was definitely getting the research nailed. And a lot of people don't want to do the research. And I don't know
Yeah.
why, But like I learned, like I'm from Chester, PA. Like we had the Dewey Decimal System, and then we went to like this other system, right? But my teacher, and I'm a super word nerd. So like she Miss Williams, she was just like, hey, I'm going to give you a skill that you're going to take for the rest of your life, and it's actually going to be a curse. And she was no more right than that, because she showed us how to properly research. And this was before like everything started becoming more automated and digital. So I equate the way that I research no differently than as if you're learning your mathematics, right? You had to do it by rote. What's 4 times 4? What's 8 times 8?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then you get it nailed down like that. So then when you get like a chat GPT or like an internet, because I'm older than like, Google. So hey, so that's just the way
Yeah.
that works. So I was able to really successfully research before things became automated, because the way that my mindset works specifically, when I'm telling my clients, I'm like, look, technology can be a crutch than a help, because if you don't think a certain way, then you won't be able to engineer your thoughts properly into the marketplace, and that's how you become effective. Am I crazy, or is that making sense?
Makes perfect sense. I actually I hated the switch from Dewey Decimal to the Library of Congress system. I still resent it a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. And I want everybody else to chime in on this conversation too. Donnie's leading it, but more specifically, like, tell us a little bit more, Nathan, Namisha, Bob, like, what are your thoughts so far as what we're saying so far? Because I want everybody to understand, like, this room is about getting proper context on things. We want to bring vetted experts into the marketplace who have actually done things like Donnie, but more specifically, like, hey, let's peel back the curtain a little bit. Let's get us a little bit of secret sauce, like I'm doing, because I've never told anybody that before. Like, that's my biggest secret weapon. Is just like, look, I was trained by my teacher in 10th grade on how to do this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And my kids don't do anything like this. And I'm just like, this is the disconnect. Like, even as an example, about 3 years ago, something as simple as like learning how to write in cursive, that was being taken away. And we have to understand the power of how your mind connects to the paper so that you can really manifest things. And people don't understand this is a real thing. And they finally brought it back. At least I'm in California. So I heard a couple months back that they brought it back, but it's these little small things, that it's these little small hinges that swing these big doors. So I want everybody to just weigh in for a second here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that's spot on. I took something away from this, especially kind of with where we're at with we've had these previous conversations. There's a lot of people who just don't know this stuff, and so being able to relate this information to something that they do know, it's going to be super powerful and kind of helping one get our point across, but then two, building those powerful emotional connections with our message. And so that's something that I took away from what Donnie was saying.
Sweet. How about you, Bob and Amisha?
No, I'm impressed. I like that you talk about the power of research first, that's your foundation, and then moving off of the foundation of the research, then you need some kind of an emotional tie-in, that you need that nostalgia, you need that story, you need that movie that people can relate to. And I really like the fact that you talk about that you don't want to overwhelm them with anything too over the top, or just throw them right in the deep end, so to speak. You got to kind of reel them in and get their attention and make them feel comfortable before you really unload all of the pertinent information that they need to move forward. It makes sense. I mean, to me, it seems like a great roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
100%.
agree with that too, with the whole storytelling and finding things that are relatable. And just so, Donnie, did you write the script for that movie? Is that what I'm understanding from this?
No.
Oh.
I
'Cause
would.
I was
I
like, wait a
wish.
minute.
I would have definitely have more bookshelves up here if I had to.
Okay.
He'd be calling from from Bora Bora right now.
I was like, wait a minute. Something about this doesn't make sense to me. Okay.
Yeah. So the whole thing about it though, Namisha, is that that's the whole reason why I have him on, is because like it's just the way that his mind works, and we connected really hard on Facebook, and he started seeing some of my posts, and we started connecting. That's just how we got to this point. And just what's interesting though is that for some strange reason, like copywriters and advertisers are like hidden behind this curtain. It's like nobody wants to know who we are, what we do. And it's just like we stay in these little small circles. Let me know. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Donnie, but that's been my reality for like the last 20, 30 years. It's crazy. And I'm just like, I need to talk to other people.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think a handful of us are really working for visibility. Many of them are because they're trying to make additional money, myself included. But 95% of copywriters no one ever knows, and we don't even know how to connect to each other because where are you? I'm working to change that on the back end, which is part of the reason why Fred and I are connecting hard. But for real, let me tell you something about research. This is an interesting story to me. Well, I say that research separates the professionals from the amateurs. That's just my philosophy. But I had one of my funnest sales letter was about 9,000 words, if I recall correctly, and I did it in 2018 or 2019. Anyway, long story short, I had a piece of research I didn't even know what I was going to use it for. I'm always reading, as you guys probably are, always collecting ideas that may be useful at some point. I came across in JP Morgan in their annual report to investors. They had said they have a little chart that says how many losing days did our trading desk have. So in 2015, 0. In 2016, I think they had like 3. Now, out of 252 trading days in the year, they only lost money on 3 days. 2017, 0. 2018, 0. So I said they lost money in 3 days out of 750 or 756, something like this. It ends up being 99.52% accuracy. I took note of this piece of research, but I didn't know how I was going to use it. But when you're getting a good idea, you write that down, capture that thing, because you're going to be able to use it somewhere. And I had the opportunity writing for another financial publisher, and we were trying to sell a trading service, and was able to use that, the idea behind it, which is if you do what JP Morgan does, you're going to have a high likelihood of profitability. And it was actually true. A lot of times you see copy that's not true. We just say things, they sound good. But this is true. Maybe not 99.52% accuracy, but highly accurate, the most accurate trading system I'd ever seen. And we could say it's based on the ability to track the big block trading that the institutions are doing, like JP Morgan, who has $1 trillion to throw at the market and control the market. Anyway, so I did this research in advance, and I've done this many times. I collect stories, and I encourage people to do that. When you hear an idea or you see a story or a fact, and just collect those things, have a little notebook or a Google Doc where I don't know how I'm going to use this, but I know this will convey a powerful idea or prove it was a powerful piece of proof. And just store them, because you never know when you'll be able to use them. Could be conversation, could be in an email, could be in a sales letter, could be in a video, social post, whatever. I've done that, like I said, a number of times with years in between, 2 or 3 years, 4 years. I think I did a cocaine story. Like I heard it on NPR and I wrote it down, and I think it was 3 or 4 years before I was able to use that. But I found a story to wrap it into. Cocaine is funny. It's not actually funny, but the point of that piece talking about cocaine, I'll tell you that story too. And I'm going to shut up because I know we're moving. But when the government, we all know Coca-Cola had cocaine in it, but I can't remember the year. They had seized a bunch of Coca-Cola syrup when it was crossing over the border from Georgia into Tennessee, or Tennessee into Kentucky, one or the other. They seized it, and they brought a case against Coca-Cola because they had this deadly compound in the syrup, but it wasn't the cocaine. It was caffeine. Caffeine was a deadly drug at that time. So the moral of that story is, don't trust the government to know what's best for you. If they're going to do what they're going to do for their own agendas, you got to know what's best for you and what's not best for you. But I didn't know how I was going to use that story. I just knew that was a good story. And it was a few years. So I encourage people, everyone, you guys specifically, copy down ideas. Just put them someplace. Store them in an idea file or a story file so that you can have access to these things, because they're powerful.
Oh yeah, and I definitely want to put a cherry on top with that one, because like I said, this is unscripted, guys. Like me and Donnie just flowing, right? But the reality of it is, anybody can go into New Room Collective group and actually see what he's talking about in action. Like this group is like notorious for like being so accurate to the point. Like you said, 99.9%. I think I put like 3,000 stories out here at one point in time, and less than 15 of them were considered fake news. That's because when you really know how to research and you really know how to lean into things, like you start uncovering some stuff and people just go, oh my God. It's just like, well, hey, I mean, look, I was trading professionally as like I said, as a journalist. So it was my job to just tell the news. If that's what's out there, that's what's out there. Now, again, I don't want to jump too far into politics and religion at this point in time. But what I will say is that those are definitely steroids in the marketplace, that if you tie any power of any story into those things, you're going to get some huge responses, because that's just like where the mainstream thoughts are. So I would rather leave it high level academic just for that reason. But the reality of it is, as far as like just taking like Donnie said, just taking those stories. Because matter of fact, I'll probably release it now that you said it, Donnie. Me and Carl Shopke, and I'll tag him on this as well. I actually showed him a 2-pager from 30 years of my experience written down as far as like how to sequence and organize your thoughts. Because like you talked about, sometimes I have things and I won't need them for years. But what I discovered was there was no system or process out here to organize those thoughts. So I created one. So I'll drop that down as a link as well as a free gift. It's a 20-minute,
Yeah, I'm gonna need that.
9-second video. Huh?
I'm gonna need that.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And some people see pictures of like some of my other stuff. Like I have all of these drawers, and my drawers literally have that one sheet of paper in there, and I have them sorted and organized just for that reason. Because again, when you see a good thought, you go, "Whoop, that's some fire." Now you don't want to plagiarize, right? But you want to take the idea, take the concept because it's workable, and just tie it into what you're doing so that you can create that same effect, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts on that bar? Was that priceless or priceful, or was it garbage? I mean, well, I like to check in, man. I don't assume anything that we're saying. Like, this is immediate, instant feedback.
No, I mean, my mind is like blown right now just thinking of those possibilities. Obviously, as an aspiring copywriter, and really trying to kind of get my sea legs, I guess you could say, in the marketplace. Um, I mean, this is super, super valuable. Even just that mini like 30-second gem about kind of how to organize the thought process a little bit. We didn't even like dive deeper into that, but really just this entire call has been some serious value. And I know if you're listening, you're going to take a lot of value away from this. But I know me, I think the biggest thing is diving into that research and understanding how that process works. Because if you're able to do that, I mean, that's where really it's the work. It's the work that nobody wants to do. And if you
Yep.
do the work that nobody wants to do, you get the results that nobody ends up getting. So, or very few end up getting. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So anybody else want to chime in before I was asking Donnie another question, or just ask Donnie questions? Like, this is ask me anything type format. I mean, we can go around because I'm seriously like thankful that he had a chance to come through, because like I said, we want to do this often. And Donnie, like I said, man, I'm in your groups. Bring people into this group. This is the one that I like. I've always envisioned this group being that platform to just have people come through, talk about what they
Yeah.
got going on, how they can take and how they can give and how they can share. And I'm telling you, man, like just what you've said in these last few minutes has been priceless. So thank you so much, brother, for coming on. Appreciate
Appreciate you.
it. Yeah, 100%, man. So, Namisha,
I like
question.
that too. Question. He goes, Namisha, speak up. No, I really like that thought that you had with the story bank, because you come across things all the time, every single day. And for a while I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and when you hear people talk, it triggers something in your mind. And I would start writing. I'm a big note taker. And today I'm not actually taking notes, which is unusual for me. But normally I'm like, I just have to take notes because I just either have to capture what I'm hearing, or I'm writing another thought that follows that thought process that we're talking about. So I'm trying to do things a little differently today, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, just to back up that whole thought story bank, I was doing that, and I have a notebook where if I'm listening to a podcast, I'll jot down notes, and I'm like, I know I can elaborate on this or maybe use this in a future whatever. So far I haven't, but I know that it's available for me to do. And I think now I'm in a position where I'm able to share more than I was before. And so it's nice to be in a collaborative environment where other people are encouraging you to do the things you've always wanted to do.
Game changer.
Yeah, 100%. And Bob, I want you to chime in real quick too, because Namisha, you said something interesting, and I want to actually flush that out, because that's the problem that I had as well. Some people call me ADHD. I tend to think of myself being highly talented at a lot of things, but I'm extremely organized now. That's the reasons why I've been able to channel those things. So, because you need that level of wherewithal to be able to see the playing field. And as having ran an agency, being a copywriter, like you have to understand the languaging involved, and it's almost like acting to an extent, where you have to be like that method actor and actually get in it. Like you've got to learn the language, you've got to learn the jargon. Like the copy's not going to flow right, and people who are in that industry or in that niche will know whether or not it's like fake or not. And Donnie's nodding his head over there, bro. What you want to say real quick?
No, I don't know. No, you're exactly right. Method acting. There's a book, Denny Hatch wrote a book. I think it was Denny Hatch, called something about method copywriting, because you do have to embody that. But I don't want to cut you off.
Oh yeah, no worries. I was supposed to want to check in with Bob real quick before we move on to the next thought.
Well, two things that come to mind. Number one, Misha, I'm a big note taker like you, and a story to this whole point about bringing in relevant stories. My first day at grad school, the professor comes into the class and says, "Good morning." And a lot of people say good morning. And he said, "I'm going to tell you the difference between the graduate students and the undergraduate students. When the professor comes in the first day of school and says good morning, all of the undergraduates write it down. Excuse me, all of the undergraduates say good morning back. All of the graduate students write it down." So I'm a big fan of note taking. And also in terms of the storytelling, we're all in the people business. We all deal with people in one way, shape, or another, whether it's direct sales, marketing, advertising, communication, you name it. And when you're in the people business, when you're dealing with people, those stories are so important because you need people to relate to you and vice versa. And so I really like the idea of the story bank because those stories do come in handy, whether they're long stories, short stories, even just quotes. But like you saying earlier, Donnie, research separates the professionals from the amateurs. And I wrote it down because that's a fantastic quote. And it's something that's really relevant, today, but it's also going to be relevant 10 years from now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. So, hey, Donnie, real quick, did you just coin that phrase, story banking, or is that something that you know, is that a term?
I'm sure I didn't make it up. I think I've heard other people refer to maybe Dan Kennedy specifically, who owns part of my shelf up here. I think he said have a bank of stories or something like that. So I don't think it's mine. I'm sure it's not mine.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to ride with it a little bit because I did want to put, so we can say story banking with intention, because I used to be a huge note taker as well. And then I had to go on a note taking diet because what happens was I noticed I had a whole bunch of scribble, nothing was going nowhere. I just started getting reams and reams of stuff. It was almost like one of those like comedy series where it's just like, well, what do you do with it? You know what I'm saying? And then Nathan, my favorite word with Nathan, he already knows it. Like, I didn't want to be so pedantic into my like note-taking skills to
Yeah.
where I'm just like I'm in the minutia of the stuff that really doesn't matter. So I've had to learn how to pull back and focus specifically on certain thoughts or certain industries. Like as I gotten older, my values have shifted a lot, right? Like at first I was all about like, let's make that money, so make that money. Like I got into, but I don't want to talk about nothing about money. But then, I started realizing coming out of that game, it's just like, there's a lot more to life than just money. But what I noticed was that my notes started shifting, my whole energy started shifting. And that's the reasons why you start talking about story banking. I find it to be a very valuable concept because I've just been doing it. Like I have a lot of my stuff stored, and I told you about my organizer. So my organizer called the data haiku. So the way that it works is, yeah, the way that it works is, you know how a haiku
You're
goes.
about to blow Donnie's mind. Hold up. Donnie, take notes.
Boom.
Yeah, so I have this concept called the data haiku. And what I've been able to do is I'll take the most like high level thought that I can and just transform it into like a full long form copywriting letter. Like that's what I do. So take those 17 words and just translate them into like a long form copywriting letter. No, it sounds crazy, but that's
Awesome.
helped keep me focused on certain things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And I think the intention part is important as well, because it's not just about collecting information that you're not going to use. Hold on a sec. You want to eat breakfast? Sorry. What? I'm on a Zoom call. Yes. I'm sorry. You had to go talk to your sister. It'll be fine. Sorry. It's Christmas break, so
Everybody
everybody's
has to
home.
answer to somebody.
100%,
Everybody has
man.
to answer to somebody in this world.
Yeah, I've had my dogs, I had my kids. Like, yeah, I just like I think a couple weeks back I had Nathan take over because I had something else come through. So yeah, man, that's what I love about this thing because again, that's just what we do because we have the flexibility and latitude. But that's another story.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just saying the intentionality behind collecting. You kind of know what. Like I said, when with the particular stories I mentioned, I didn't know how I was going to use them in particular, but I know how I'm going to use them in general. I know the specific audience I'm likely to use them towards, the sort of products that those stores likely fit with, and those are the sort of things that I do all the time. So intentionality, which you mentioned, I think is really important for efficiency, for clarity, and for focus to make sure that you're not just doing things to do them. You do things because you know how, even if, just generally, you know how you're going to employ those things. So yeah, that's really important. A great distinction.
No, I appreciate that. And I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into like your mindset. Like what inspired you to really go into the direction of copywriting? Why not anything else? Or is there something else as well?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I tell this all the time. You guys may not have heard it because I'm kind of new to you, but I grew up you think this is a lot of books. I mean, you don't think it's a lot of books. My grandmother had it was either 20 or 25,000 books in her house when I grew up. I didn't grow up with my grandmother, but I spent a lot of time there. And I gravitated towards the books. A wall, floor to ceiling, 2-story wall, full of books, packed with books. An old bedroom full of books. There's no bed in there anymore. It's just books. And let's go to grandma's house. So we go in there and I would just read. And I loved books. I grew up loving books. And I thought I was going to be an author, which is not exactly the same thing as copywriting, but I wanted to write. And I loved history. I loved science. And I didn't realize how much I love just English, just the language. But I knew I liked books and I wanted to write. And eventually you get old, you get married, and I didn't become a writer. I just had to go make money for my family. And it was 2007. I was working up to 80 hours a week in retail management at Kmart, if y'all remember Kmart, which is, they're failing for a reason. But I said, I got to do something else because I had 3 kids at the time and I wanted to be there for them. Working 80 hours and commuting was not it, wasn't it? And my wife, she'd known. She said, you should do something with writing. Do something with writing. And eventually it sunk in. I started Googling and copywriting came up. It's writing, it's selling. You can make good money and you can do it from home. And instantly I said, this is what I want to do. So that's 2007. And it's been a long road since then. But for me, it was, and I like selling as well, face to face. I've sold jewelry face to face, electronics, insurance, stuff like that. So I'm on my way to trying to provide for my family and getting into retail management. I did selling, and I liked selling. So the ability to sell without having to be, out in public and still spending time away from my family appealed to me. And then the writing thing. And I also didn't realize it, but I had been doing copywriting for jobs that I had anyway. And even at Kmart, I ended up writing, there wasn't so much marketing, but I was doing internal communications for the district. How did it fall to me? Well, I didn't tell anybody I was a writer, but it just so happened that it came to me. And I managed a cell phone store before that. I was doing real marketing for them that I didn't ask for that job. Nobody was doing the job. And I must have written something, an email. And then the owner said, oh, you should do advertising. We started doing advertising. I didn't know it. My wife knew it, but I didn't really realize it until afterwards. And you reflect back, oh, I've been doing this kind of not intentionally or professionally, like as my role, but it's something that I was doing as part of my bigger job. So it all kind of came together providentially, and I leaned into it in 2007. So I guess I hope that answers the question without being too lengthy.
Yeah, no, 100%, because you said something that really struck me as interesting. I had no idea this was even an industry until like 2020. Because to your point, like when you do it so much, and I was just getting paid for it, and then I was I didn't talk to anybody except for the people who were paying me, and then it's like full immersion. Like I'm flying all over the country, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I look up and I'm like, literally 20 years of my life I spent just traveling, just doing this one thing. And even one of my buddies, he's just like, "This is all you've been doing?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, weirdo. I'm just like, but then I get online and I'm just like, oh, there's a whole industry here. Because see, Donnie, I learned this professionally in the Marine Corps. Like I did this as a Marine. This was like 1996 when there was no industry. Like it was, you still had Dan Kennedy's and everybody else like that, but they were like so far behind the curtain. They were like practical unknowns. Like I met David Deutsch like back in 2019. And like I just posted a picture. Like I'm like, they're like, you're with David Deutsch. I'm like, he sounds cool to me. Like we just had the conversation, like, but some of these guys are like rock stars, and it's just like we tend to stumble upon our zones of genius without even realizing it. And that's what I really wanted to, hone in right here, is that sometimes people just look for something to do when they're already doing it and getting paid for it. And in some cases, being paid handsomely. Now, all they have to do is wrap a business around it and then they're set. Even if you don't like it, that's fine. I have a concept called MAN, and it's not sexist. It's monetize, automate, and next. You don't have to like that previous version of yourself, but that previous version of yourself helped get you to where you are right now. So like in an audience roadmap, that's what we talk about is dual focus, where you're like literally living your present self, but you're working towards your future self, while at the same time engineering your life with a partner. And that's the whole thing that a lot of people miss as well, is like you can't just do it by yourself. Like even if for the copywriting, that came in through referrals and people seeing your work and people this and that. Da, 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 da. So you have to be able to identify organically what's working for you right now. So your story is amazing in the respect that, because I love Kmart. We had James Way from where I'm at. For anybody from on the East Coast, you remember James Way back in the day. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
overall, this is how people discover their genius, but we have to sometimes just stop and be willing to observe it. And I think that's where I hear your genius coming in, was the fact that you had a pressing need, kids. You also had a pressing desire, change of pace. And then you also had a pressing like future that was calling you, and here you are full time just doing it and smashing out great hits. And that's one of the reasons why I'm super thankful that we are able to connect this way, because it is the power of story. But I also want to ask you another question, since we've just talked about story. Why don't people, and again, I don't want to presuppose this, but this is my reality. So this is my bias right here. Why are copywriters and advertisers like, these are some of the most important skills, period, in order for you to move your product with a sale, whether it's through words or whether it's through how you project your words, whether it's on stage, whether it's in an ad, right? How are you able to steadily stay focused to make sure that your words not only resonate, but they are total intention to where they generate an effect? Because nobody's talking about this kind of stuff. The
Yeah.
first question so it's a two-part question. The first question would be, why do you think we're like copywriters and advertisers are so hidden behind the curtain when everybody needs it in their business? When I say everybody, I mean everybody. Like without words, you don't have anything. We could be here for 45 minutes and people would not,
Yes.
so we have to have words, right? So,
Right.
so why do you think that that's a phenomenon that exists, or maybe it doesn't exist in your world? And the other thing would be why, like, how do you stay totally focused with making sure that your words flow the right way?
Okay. The first one is just the tradition of the industry. We're writing on behalf of someone else, right? Bill Clinton wrote half of his book, maybe less, but his name's on it, and he's the one selling it. But he's got a co-writer, ghostwriter, who's got the name on the bottom like this, and it's definitely true. David Deutsch writing for Men's Health or Bottom Line back in the 90s, he didn't put his name on there. He just he wrote it for the publication or the individual, the guru who hired him. And I think traditionally, even going way back to the 50s and earlier, you had agencies, but the brands didn't say who their agencies were. You have agency of record, but nobody even knows who to look for that. The consumers don't care. And so the higher ups in the organizations know who that is, and they mostly keep it to themselves. They don't want to share their best writers with people. They don't want to share their secrets with everybody. And I think the industry hasn't necessarily changed from that. And many copywriters were introverts. I'm an introvert. I pretend to not be, right? And I know how to turn it on and turn it off when I need to. But there's that proclivity to be behind the scenes. We're okay with that. I just want to write. I want to focus on my craft, and I don't need to be on the stage. I don't need to be on the spotlight. So that's a dual thing as well. I think the industry largely, people who have their copy written for them don't want everyone to know it. They want you to think they wrote it, right? They want you to think that I'm the genius who put these words together. These are my thoughts. And that's our job, is to make it seem like the individual whose name is on it, that it's their thoughts, that it's their words, the way that they would say things. So that's why we have to embody in the method, like you said, method acting. We want to become, as much as possible, the person who we're pretending or who are hired to represent. And so all of that is putting us behind the scenes. And then we don't many of us don't go out and say, by the way, there's copywriters back here. The gurus don't mind that, because then nobody knows. I mean, if you talk to people now, did you know that the people who the IBM website, there's a copywriter who wrote IBM? Oh, I never thought about that. The stuff on the cereal box, it's probably from a copywriter. Oh, I never thought about that. Every time I tell people that, somebody has to write all these things.
Yeah.
They never think about that. There's a trillion words out there, trillions of them. Copywriters write a lot of them, right? So anyway, but we're behind the scenes, partially because that's how the industry is kind of set up, and partially due to our own introversion and willingness to stay behind the scenes. I think those are the reasons for that. That's my understanding of it. There could be other factors at play, but that's kind of how I see it. I've been a copywriter since 2017 or 2007, and that's how I see it. That's how I see it. In terms of focus, how to stay focused and energized to do those things, I think it's really about working on projects that excite us. There's plenty of projects that have come my way that I turned down because I don't know how to get into that. I don't know how to talk about that. I don't like that. I don't care about that, or I don't believe in it. And so when you're working on things that are exciting, that excite you, it's interesting. There's energy involved. When you do a little research, you get a little hype. When you look at some testimonials from customers, this thing really helps people. It really makes a difference. And then remind yourself, it's my opportunity, my privilege to help this get out there more, to show more people how this can help them, how this can change their lives, fix their problems, help them achieve their dreams. And then for me, at least, that's exciting. That's what I'm here to do. Like, I love words, but I love my words to hit something that matters and to accomplish something. So that's for me. I work on usually I kind of have a small area of focus. I don't sell furniture online. I don't attempt to do consumer packaged goods. I don't do that. I like financial stuff. I like marketing stuff. And most of the people that I work with they're selling a marketing service, or they're selling a financial product or education. And so I'm already focused on those things and interested in those things. When we start talking about marketing, I love marketing. I mean, I could never be bored of this. This is what I do. You know how when you're watching TV with whoever, and you analyze the commercials in front of and they're like, "Shut up, we're just watching TV." You can't turn it off because this is what you're into. And it excites me. So I think that's it. You stay energized and focused by working on stuff that you like, you're interested in, and you want to make an impact on. And life is life, right? Everybody kind of has energy levels that you got to replenish by taking a break, being in nature, right? Taking walks and doing things like that. But in general, I mean, the people who I know who burn out are working on stuff that they don't care about, or they don't like, or they don't believe in. So if you had to force yourself to write about something that you don't really believe in, you're like working against your own morals. You're working against your own heart. That'll burn you out. So don't do that. Just work on stuff that you believe in and you like, and your energy levels will naturally replenish. As I think in a professional way, obviously the personal things you got to do still have to do, but you prevent the professional burnout by avoiding things like that.
Right. Yeah, I want to hit that real hard, and then I know we got to wrap up, but I want to also chime in and ask Nathan a question, sir. You talked about like us connecting dots with Gen Z and Gen X and Boomer. Like, are you getting a shortcut, sir? Did you just hear what Donnie said?
Yeah, I mean, like that. It was some serious heat, and I'm automatically just going in my mind that way. As he was speaking, I think that there's this generation specifically, like you guys have mentioned. This information didn't necessarily it still really is very behind the curtain, but we are sitting here, we are talking, we are having a conversation, and this is going to be out in places to where people can see it. And so there's a new generation who is seeing this information for the first time, that's my age, younger, maybe a little bit older than me. And they understand, like, hey, this is a real industry. This is something to where I feel like I can make an impact, because I think that there is still that need of, what do I want to do after I graduate high school or college or something like that. They still kind of want to figure out what that is. And so they're hearing about this stuff, but they don't necessarily know, okay, where do I start? So Donnie, is there like a daily action, I guess, that you would prescribe to people who want to get into this industry, people who want to learn more and who want to actually grow and develop?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm glad we're talking about this. Believe it or not, copywriting is growing very fast now, especially overseas. I say overseas. I think well, I'm in the United States, uh, in Africa, huge, Pakistan, massive. Uh, so uh, there's growth there. We need to make sure that everybody's focused on things that are impactful.
Yeah.
One thing that I always recommend to people to get the just fresh, great copy is to sign up for the best marketers in your space, whatever space you're interested in. Sign up for their email list and observe what they do. Look at their emails, click their ads on Facebook when you see them. They don't, you're costing them money, but this is what they do. And click through their links and look at their sales pages, look at their videos, see what they're doing, and just take note of how they present their ideas, what their selling propositions are, what their proof is, what their voice is, and try to understand what's going on. Now, that's, of course, when you're first doing that, it's going to take immersion and time to understand what those things are. But I would say supplement that with, I love recommending the classics. Uh, Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins. It's free. You can go Google it and find a free version and read it. And it gives you a great foundational knowledge of how copywriting works. It's called Scientific Advertising, but it's really about copywriting. And Reason Why Advertising, which is by John E. Kennedy. And he also has Intensive Advertising. Those are free. You can find them free as well. So like the classics, and there's plenty of books. When I first started learning copywriting, I went to the library, which was across the street from my Kmart, across the parking lot. I skipped lunch to go read Bob Bly and to go read these guys. Bob Bly has like 60 books on copywriting, maybe more. You can get them all inexpensively or at the library. So there's a lot of books out. YouTube actually has a lot of stuff on now. I think my YouTube channel is pretty good, but I don't know if I talk about like super beginner stuff. There's a lot of YouTube channels. So in terms of daily actions, first thing is go find some marketers in an industry that you think you'll like, and sign up for the list of the biggest names there, and just see what they do and click all their links. When you start clicking their links, they'll retarget you on Facebook, and you click all their ads, see everything that they're doing, and then go read some of those books. 16-letter sales or 16-word sales letter, which is newer by Evaldo Albuquerque. That's a great place to go to. Hang out with Fred Smith. You'll learn a whole lot.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
That's for sure.
I really do appreciate that. And I do want to plug you a little bit, Don, as well. And I want to go into some things. I also want to check in with Bob and Amisha real quick on this conversation, because again, to me, it's super essential. And I do want to go over some of your work, Donnie, as well. And I do have a question, because some of you guys had a chance to look at my new book. I haven't even talked about it or yet alone promoted it, but I do want to do something that's a lot more basic and simpler. So I want to be able to really collaborate with anybody who's watching this to really give like Nathan a solid foundation. So for just like 27 bucks per book, you can help a young aspiring copywriter like Nathan get the proper information and knowledge he needs so that he's able to grow and scale. Because I'm telling you, Donnie, this conversation that you said has been so prolific. And that was one of my biggest problems out in this marketplace was like, look, man, one thing that I learned from because I've also for some strange reason done a lot of financial stuff as well, like 20 years of it, right? So one of my mentors was like, hey, you got to share the love, show the love and share the love. So I want to be able to circle back around with anybody who's watching this, but more specifically, talk a little bit more about your stuff. But I wanted to check in with Bob and Amisha real quick if they had any questions or thoughts on this.
So I have a question. So I appreciate you sharing everything that you have so far. And, you know, a lot of times we're like, okay, well, I want to do this, but how do you get hired as a copywriter? Like, how do you find someone to work with you? How do you, get consistent work and get hired over and over and over again?
Another spectacular question. It's a long. I'll make the answer short. But there's like long answer. For what I recommend, well, really, there's a lot of things that people do. A lot of my peers are sending cold messages to people they want to work with. And one thing that you can do to kind of step your game up, instead of just saying, hey, hire me, I'm a copywriter, I'm cool, is if you make a Loom video critiquing or making comments on something that they have in the marketplace. Like they got a landing page and say, here's 4 things that I think that you could do to improve this based on my research, my experience. And a lot of times that at least that separates you from everyone who's just saying, hire me, hire me, hire me. Because that doesn't really work. You had to have bring something to the table in the beginning. So cold messaging works. I think connecting with people on LinkedIn takes it a little bit higher as well. If you're connecting with people and building a relationship, which takes some time, but just being connected with them and sharing content on LinkedIn or whatever, over time they'll begin to see some of your stuff, and then when you reach out to them, they'll have a foundation for, oh, okay, this person, he's, I've seen some of their work, and at least I know that they're intelligent. For me, the long-term play is become somebody. I when I was in the first 10 years, I was a copywriter, tons of content online. I got a YouTube channel, I got a blog, I was not ghost writing, but guest posting on everyone else who would accept my content just to get some visibility, some backlinks. And it took a while for me, but it became where my website gets leads, even though it's not a great website. It's just a blog. I don't have anything going on there. But people see my content, and I'm getting leads on a regular basis through my website. So I think not just your website, but having content on social media. LinkedIn is huge, especially right now. Super hot right now. If you're creating content regularly there, quality content that shows your expertise, and you can always say or imply, I'm helping clients, and I'm looking for more people to help. People will connect with you, and lots of people can see your content. I had a weird spike this last week. 10,000 people saw one post, or 10,000 impressions on one post. It was something like that. You never know when that's going to happen, but your consistency, it adds up over time. So LinkedIn is huge. Content and reaching out to people you want to. I'm going to tell y'all something crazy too. So reaching cold email out to people who you want to work with. But I love direct mail as well. I shouldn't tell y'all this, but I'm going to tell you. If I want to get somebody's attention, I send them direct mail, and I put something inside that will get their attention. Like this. Can y'all see this? It's $100 million bill, real money. It's from Zimbabwe. So it was in circulation. They don't use this money anymore. But in 2007, 2008, they had really high inflation. So they made bills up to $100 trillion. I have a $100 trillion bill around here someplace. You can actually buy these online and send somebody $1 million bill in the mail and use that as a hook. Back in the day, you used to get letters from fundraising places and they had a nickel on the thing. You remember that? And
Lumpy bill.
I'm buying right. I don't want to send a nickel. I will send them, and I've sent many. Usually I'm not sending these for client acquisition. I'm oftentimes using them for building relationships or people I already know, and it's like a thank you. Thanks a million, I'll send you $1 million bill in the mail. Anyway, but you can get all kinds of currency from around the world now. I got a Vietnamese bill over here. The money's hyperinflated. You can get it for like 2 cents. Anyway, but you can send anything. When you send direct mail to somebody who you really want to work with, and I usually do it in sequence, 2 or 3 messages, and each of them are going to probably have something inside. You got their attention. You send them a little candy bar, or you send them, whatever. And at least you have their attention, and you can then work your magic if you can get into a conversation with them. So I say, like I said, I try to make it wasn't as short as I meant for it to be. Creating content, I think, is a base that every copywriter needs to do, because when people Google you, they need to be able to find something, and they will Google you. And when your content is out there, it creates a snowball effect where over time, more and more people see it, more and more people will reach out to you in a more consistent way. And then reaching out and connecting with people, like I said, depending on how direct you want to be, you can pitch people directly through cold messaging or direct mail, or you can just build relationships with people, connect with them, and just talk about common interests, share value, and over time, then you let them know you want to help them. You can help them, or they get to know that about you. Oh, I really do need a copywriter. There are certain industries where nobody's hiring copywriters. There are certain kind of businesses or sizes of businesses where it's not really worth them hiring a copywriter, because what you want to charge won't make sense. So you need to target those people intentionally. But anyway, connecting, making relationships, direct pitching, and content. Those things are kind of like circles that overlap. You kind of got to do all of them. I don't really pitch often, but in the past I've pitched often. And a lot of people are doing that a lot. Like that's how they get most of their clients. So it's a long answer, but I think those are, if you're doing those things,
that's helpful.
That's how if you want consistent work, you may have to do many of those things. Content doesn't work instantly, usually. It usually takes time to build up. But you can start pitching people today and potentially getting clients. It's a convoluted answer. I apologize.
It sounds like a template though,
Yeah, I love
because
that.
that's something that can be used in any industry, whether it's copywriting or, real estate or insurance or anything. Those are the key fundamentals that you need to do.
I
Let
say
people
that
know what you do.
there's fishing, there's farming, there's hunting, and there's herding.
There you go.
But so planting seeds is farming, which is really like how I say this content. Fishing is like you got a small number of people that you create a network and you build a relationship with them over time, not directly pitching them. Hunting is pitching, and then herding is just keeping the ones that you got. So the best way to have consistent work is to get people to hire you to pay to do work month after month. I have one client I've been working with for 8 years. They pay me every month.
Wow.
I mean, the stability that my wife loves that. All right. She knows what's coming in from them, and anything else that you get, like you're working all the time to get more people. But I like to have it set up where I have month over month. So I got a herd of people. That sounds like denigrating people. They're not animals to be herded. But if the best new client is a satisfied old client. So, when you get people who will rehire you, you can be consistent with a small number of people. And I don't want to work with 50 people. I want to work with a handful of people that I really can get excited about working with. And I think that's true for anybody. You don't want to work with anybody. You want to work with, a concentrated group of people who you like to work with, whose products you can get behind and enjoy working on, and who will pay you well and on time. So anyway.
Key word on time. I everything you said. No, see, but no, you're spot on, Donnie. And the thing about it is, and I want to honor just you taking your time to really answer that question in thorough detail, because again, metaphorically, and of course, we have to sometimes say, because if you're too literal, you can't be a copywriter. I'm already letting you know you're better as an analyst. So we tend to speak very metaphorically. So just to get proper context for people who are watching this. Of course, that's one of the secrets of being a great copywriter is being creative as well and being able to put things into stories or metaphors or idioms or however you want to put things to where people can identify and relate. So I wanted to definitely thank you so much, Donnie, for just really giving that thorough answer because people needed to hear that. And again, you don't have to say yes now, but I would definitely like to see if we can do something as far as basic copywriting 101. I think that would be fire. You got to.
I think that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, because again, without those foundations, Namisha, like because I knew exactly what he was talking about. The concept is called lumpy mail, right? So I'm like that plain Jane facilitator. Like, you see what he just did? Like, so because like I have people analyze my work as well, and I'm just like, and I told Nathan this, I think about a few months back. I was like, if I really had to think through all of those concepts, I would never get anything written. I just have to write and go, and then the academics can look at it later. And that's what I was telling Don when we first talked. I'm like, I had scientific copywriters follow me. I'm like, what are even scientific copywriters? I have no clue what that even means. But you get to a level of proficiency, Namisha, to the point where, to his point, fishing, farming, hunting, and herding, right? I mean, these are the four major concepts that nobody really talks about. And I'm so thankful that you talked about that, Donnie, because that's a really big thing. Because if we get that part right, no matter what your business is, no matter what your industry is, those are the basic solid fundamentals in order for anybody to get passive and active marketing in place. And then you can run paid traffic to what's working. And then that's how you can scale fast. So I really do appreciate you saying that, Donnie.
Sure. Yeah. My pleasure.
That was, woo.
Yeah. Bob, did you want to chime in real quick? Because I know you've been quiet, sir.
Just the one thing that I'm really impressed with, you talking about the herding, because a lot of different professionals talk about the hunting versus the fishing versus the farming, but they never talk about herding. And I agree with you 100%. Much better to keep a client. It's much cheaper and much more lucrative over time to keep a happy client rather than to constantly be out hunting for new clients. I like that piece. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's right. If you had to start from scratch every time, and we do what we have to do, but when you have a client that you get to know them, they get to know you, it's I'm sorry, it looks better that way. It gets better returns for everybody. I don't have to learn your whole new product, your whole new voice, and all these things. I get to know you better and better. I get to know your audience better and better. I get to know test data better and better because I run my own tests, or we run them together. And when you go to a new client, you got to figure all that stuff out again. And even if you get their existing data, like I like my own data. Like I want to test my stuff. I want to understand my propositions and my ideas. And then on the other side, your client, they get to know you, they can trust you more. You work with people in any field. You work with people who they give you, the side eye anytime you suggest something. When people get to know you have their best interest in mind and you understand their business, you understand their client, then they have less stress. They have less doubt, less worry to freak out over everything that you do or don't do. Or if you take a little while to respond to their email, they don't think you just abandon them. When you got new clients, they don't know that about you. So, it's better for everybody, I think, when you can work with people over the long term. 8 years may be a little too long because people get real familiar. They take you for granted. But in my instance, I still deal with a lot of crazy stuff with this particular client. They still doubt half of the things that I do. I let them because they pay me a whole lot of money. And it's really easy work. Like, I really understand their products. I really understand their clients. And I've done hundreds of tests over the years, maybe thousands. So I really get it. And so for me, it's low stress. Even when they act weird towards me, I just say, okay, check it on time. Every time it's like on automatic. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's key.
Great.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's I definitely want to thank you, Donnie, for coming through. Tell them a little bit more about how they can reach you. Also, I'm gonna drop some links down as well. I've really had an amazing time. Thank you for having spending some time with us today, being out here. Look, this ain't the last time, just so you know. You already know that. We just kind of
I wish I could talk faster or not talk faster, but make my point more succinctly. Because I know I'm going over, but I appreciate being here. It's been a lot of fun. I love sharing game. I'm not holding anything back. We're past that point in in the world, right? It's time to share what we got. Everybody can win together. So I'm happy to share. Happy to be with y'all.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. If y'all need anything else, I'm gonna drop his link. He's in the group. Tag him, and also just share your stuff on the link. And look forward to chatting with you more behind the scenes. And everybody, my challenge to you is to be a giver in the taker's market. That's the way I always like to sign off on these things, because success is simple when you're doing it collectively and collaboratively. So everybody, sign out. Fred Smith and to squad.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you for the
Thanks,
time.
guys. Been
Yes,
fun.
See y'all.
we will
Peace.
chat with you soon. And
Thank
again,
you.
everybody check out his YouTube channel, subscribe. So much love. We'll see you soon.
Yep, we'll do. Peace.
Peace.